Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
For those of you listening, and if you weren't aware of this last week, if it sounded weird, if you didn't get a chance to hear from us, it's because Derek decided we try to record our audio locally, so then I can mix it and adjust the volumes, and I try to balance it out every week. Usually with some success. This past week, I did not have two local versions of the audio, so I had to go with the Google Hangout, and in which our audio was drastically different from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So Derek was super loud, I was super quiet. I tried to do some balancing, but there wasn't much I could do. And
you're limited.
So you got me whispering and Derek yelling last week. But hopefully you still enjoyed the show. I actually thought it was a good conversation last week, so hopefully you guys were able to make it through it. But here we are with episode 91 of Fathers of the Grind. And as you've already heard, my name is Tim Nestor, and I'm here with Derek Teague.
Hello.
Hello, Derek, and his shirtless son, Ian. Back there somewhere. Totally ignoring you.
Yeah, he's doing something. I think he's going to play FIFA 18.
Sweet.
So.
Cool. So if you're watching the video version of this on YouTube, you can see the very right side of the screen on FIFA to get a real feeling of what that game's like.
Yeah, I played him last night. He wanted to play FIFA 18, and so we played a couple matches, and I absolutely destroyed him, and I loved it. Loved every moment of it.
Was there a point in time when you stopped taking it easy on him? Did you never take it easy on him?
I never take it easy on him. So, the first match was actually a close one. I think I won 1-0, so it was actually really close. It's the second one that we did a rematch, so we did the same teams. I was Manchester United, and he was Paris Saint-Germain or whatever, PSG. And so I think I beat him 5-1. He was not happy. Ian doesn't overreact a lot. It's usually Eli and I who yell if things don't go our way. But he was definitely getting frustrated to the point where he was just like, "Oh yeah, fatty. Yeah, fatty. Fat Neymar. Can't move at all, can you, fatty?" So I was like laughing. I was like, "Oh, my little Ian."
Well, that's what the joy of gaming is supposed to be all about.
Yeah. Calling Neymar a fatty because he doesn't do it. Yeah. Doesn't do it.
Insulting the characters that you're controlling on the screen. That's what it's all about. Nice. All right. Well, this week we've got just a few things to cover. Not a lot, because like we've said before, we're building up to talking about a ton of new games. So this week we're going to do two main things in addition to talking about stuff we're playing. One, we both just rewatched the Red Dead Redemption 2 trailer, the new one that Rockstar dropped this past week. Just give our thoughts on that and some of our things we're anticipating for that game. And then we're going to talk about the SNES Classic, which dropped this past week as well. So it's been quite a week, and we'll get to that stuff shortly. But before we do that, let's jump into stuff we are playing. I'm gonna say two quick things first that I'm playing before, and then I'll let you share the stuff you're playing, and then I'm gonna talk about Golf Story after that. So, but first, I finished SteamWorld Dig 2. Great game. Talked about it some last time around. Still highly recommend it. Really fun game. Really pretty side-scrolling game. Very sharp. Whether you've got a PC or Switch, and I believe it's going to come to the other consoles. Whatever your console of choice, it's a really fun game. A great one for kids to play too, because it's a nice combination of challenging but not overly challenging. It's really good. And then Mario plus Rabbids and Destiny 2 are still on the regular rotation for me. I've now got 2 characters in Destiny 2 up over 270, which for me is saying a lot. So yeah, but I'm still enjoying both of those games. Mario plus Rabbids, I think I'm slowing down on purpose because I don't want it to end. I know I'm near the end of that game, and for some reason I'm not super motivated to finish it because I want it to be something that I'm still playing, weirdly enough. So anyway, I'll be wrapping that one up soon too, and then I'll talk about Golf Story, the new game that I'm playing this week, in just a few minutes. But before I do, I'll pass the baton to you. What are you playing?
No, I mean nothing new, but I will share like some new stuff that happened. I'm playing right now. Destiny 2 is still my main game. I've got 2 characters over 294, I believe. I have one at 298, one at 294. And the new thing that I did this week with Destiny 2 is I actually tried Friday night to do the raid, and that is Something special, let me tell you. I mean, we had 2 guys on our team of 6 that actually knew what they were doing. That was Kent and Manuel. And they're both cool dudes. Like, they'll explain stuff to you, but you can also tell they're like, okay, noobs, get it. And then we had 4 noobs. You had my brother, Rob, me, and I'm forgetting the other one. Oh, Daniel Freitas. Which, this was the amazing thing is...
Friend of the show, Daniel Freitas.
Yeah. And they teamed Daniel and I together. So, like, the entire time, Daniel and I are working together, and we're just making fun of each other and how we fail and all this stuff. Like, so it was a very interesting night. It was a lot of fun. I gotta say, for as much as we failed, and I have a personality that if we're failing, I get mad and I just want to quit. As much as we failed, I actually really did enjoy it. Like, I had fun just hanging out with the other 5 guys and trying to figure this out. I did have an embarrassing moment that they mocked me for. I am a hunter, so my mobility is like a 10, which is pretty high. So I became, in one of the parts of the raid, I'm the runner. So I'm not going to try to explain it to the listeners, especially if you've never done the raid, the entire thing that we have to do, but it's overly complicated. And basically my job as a runner is to grab this orb, and you're in like kind of like this cylinder type thing, and you have to run in the circle. But in order to go from spot to spot in that that circular area, you have to call out, like, for instance, there'll be like a picture of a dog. You have to say dog, and then top, bottom, because there's 3 rows, like a board, like a checkerboard, 3 rows, and one of the rows will light up with an orb, right? And in order for me to pass through that wall, because there's a barrier there, my teammates have to shoot top and bottom if the orb shows up in the middle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I have to jump through the circle with the orb. So I grab the orb, or I jump through that circle that the orb appeared in, and then that passes me through and it extends my time, because the orb that I'm actually running with is a bomb. So if we don't get past the wall and I don't get through that area, the bomb blows up and we fail.
And does everyone die and has to reload now?
Yeah, and so I'm doing, well, not everyone dies, but you basically fail. I'm doing this, and then Rob Rinaldi's also doing it. So you've got 6 people, and you've got 2 people running and 4 people shooting at 4 different areas. Very confusing, trust me. And so that's why I said I didn't want to try to explain it. But the funny part was we tried,
and yet you did it anyway.
Well, I'm gonna do it because it's fun. It's a fail on my part. So I'm sitting there doing this. I get what they're saying. They're like, run through, with your orb, jump through the circle, blah blah blah. For some reason, my brain never clicked. And when they would shoot the stuff, like I would call it out and they'd shoot it, all the circles turn green. That means go. Like, hey, the barrier's down, you can go through. And so I kept going through, and then I would just blow up and die. And I'm like, I went through when it was green. Why am I not getting extra time? Why is the bomb just blowing up? And then I realized it was because I wasn't jumping through the hole with the orb in it. So if the orb showed up in the middle, it would show up on one of 3 circles in the middle, either the right, middle, or left. So if it show up on the right, that's the one I'm supposed to jump through, because that's the one that extends my time. And I just kept just jumping through whatever hole I wanted to. So it was an epic fail, because it wasn't until the 10th try I'm like, just randomly I'm like, guys, am I supposed to be jumping through the hole where the orb appears? And you just heard Kent get so pissed. He's like, are you freaking serious? He actually told me he was going to send his foot to me by mail so I could implant it in my ASS. But they were just like, "Are you serious?"
I gotta be honest, I've never heard that one before. That's pretty good.
So he was not happy with me. But overall, it was very frustrating. I try to tell the guys. I know some of them were getting upset, but it is the truth. Here's the reality: if Bungie tells you that a raid is 270 and above, then you need to be 290, 300. The 270 is BS. You're going to die in 2 seconds. So. I told some of the guys, I was like, not only are we noobs, but some of us were too low of a level to be doing it. Some of them were still in the 260s. So, and everybody held their own pretty well, but overall, we just kept failing. I think if all of us were a 290 and above and knew what we were doing, I think we could have succeeded. But it is very difficult because there's multiple things you have to do, and you have to do that successfully. That means me and Rob have to go around the cylinder 3 different times, and that's just part 1. And then after we do it 3 times, then there's another part where like all 6 of us have to get an orb and do something. And Kent and Manuel didn't even bother explaining that because they're like, we can't even get through part 1.
Yeah, they're like, you guys, we're not going to hurt your brains with
Yeah.
the rest of this.
So needless to say, we did not get far at all. We got into the first room of the raid, and we only got to the first part of the raid, and we kept failing. So, but we played for we probably did the raid for about 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours. And overall, like I said, even with all the failing, the fact that we were making fun of each other, insulting each other, calling each other fails, that's what I think made it fun for me. I just enjoyed it. So that's what I did new. My daughter just laughed at me for enjoying being called a fail. But that's what we did with Destiny 2. As far as Dishonored would be the other game that I've been playing. And I just want to talk about this one real quick because I already said on the previous show that I'm really enjoying Death of the Outsider. And I actually hit, and I was saying this before, I hit Mission 3. Mission 3 is probably one of the coolest Dishonored missions ever. I'm not going to spoil anything, but to give you a gist of it, you basically have to break into a bank to get a very high priority item for the overall mission. And the amount of options that you have to get into this bank, and then when you're in this bank to succeed at your mission is amazing. Like, I will spoil this a little bit, so if you're anti-knowing anything, but I'm just going to share with you what I did.
This isn't story spoiler.
No,
it's
just
one
how
option on one mission.
this is how I handled
not
the
a
mission.
big deal. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I ended up actually getting this like gas type thing. I don't know what it was exactly, but I went to the roof and I ended up leaking gas into the entire bank. So when I I just farted. But when I actually broke into the bank, everybody was knocked out. So I could just walk around the bank, and as long as I didn't alert, like there are still like mechanical robots. If they spot you and they get alerted, then they can alert and wake up anybody that was knocked out in the room. But one of the options for that mission is to go through the entire mission without alerting anybody. And it would probably be impossible to do that bank mission without alerting anybody unless you knock them out with that gas. And again, that's optional. It's just what I chose to do. You can actually break into the bank a totally different way. There's multiple options.
Now, let me ask you this. Did that game give you like directions to that thing and tell you what to do, or you just tried it?
I think it's something I explored at like a node I found or something, and then it kind of made it like an optional of what you could do. I don't remember it being like, break into the bank and here's your 3 options. It may have done that, but I don't remember doing it.
Okay.
It's one of those.
So it does guide you to the options a bit. It's not so wide open that it doesn't tell you what you can do.
Yeah, but Dishonored, the cool thing about Dishonored is they give you, it's cool, but it's also, for somebody who hates reading like me, it's annoying. They rely on the player reading a lot, and if you read, then you can figure out like other options. You'll unlock codes to break in. Like, for instance, I was in a bank, so in order to get into some of the lockers and stuff like that to steal money or steal items, you needed codes. And so those would be found through exploring the world. Like, nice. For instance, this game is, I think, for most people, it's 7 to 8 hours long. That's for most people. I'm over 6 hours in, and I just completed Mission 3. And I believe there's 5 missions. Nice. The reason I'm sharing that is I am playing this game different than I played Dishonored 2. Dishonored 2,
stealthy.
Yeah, well, not completely stealthy. I actually went through, and every body I ran into, I killed them. So that's how I play.
Wait, hang on. So you use the gas to knock everybody out,
and then I killed
the building. And then as they're laying on the floor knocked out, you can finish the mission without any. You just decided to stab them.
I stabbed them all. If I ran into them, while they're like, I just stabbed them. And I also I kill
You are
all the
a terrifying
civilians. I
individual.
kill every civilian. If you're standing
Sure.
like near an area and I don't like you, I kill you. Because a lot of them are
Yeah.
very snobby, so they'll talk to you like trash, like get away from me, and I'll just stab them. Um,
I do not want to watch you play something like Grand Theft Auto because that'd be terrifying.
but
Just
I think you would
the destruction.
love. I know you would love it because you would do the
Yeah.
game. I think you would play the game better than how I play it, meaning you would play it how they really want you to play it. But I just had
But the fact that you can play it and have fun
yeah.
with whatever approach you want to take
Hmm.
speaks to the quality of it, right? I mean, it's the
Yeah.
same thing with the original Dishonored, which, as I mentioned several episodes ago, I played this year and I loved it. It still holds up, I think.
Oh yeah.
And Dishonored 2, I've heard, of course, a step up in every way, and it sounds like this DLC being its own kind of shorter but separate experience. And then things like Deus Ex, both Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, both of those doing a great job of opening up multiple pathways for you to either go in guns
And that's what I
blazing
like.
or
I
stealthy
like
or
games that are like, here's the mission. Everybody's gonna do this mission, but
yeah,
you can do it your way. Like
yeah.
you
You
can
make it your
either
own thing,
yeah,
right?
you can either go in guns blazing or you can stealth it. Now Deus
Or like
Ex,
many people do, they do half of it stealth until they're
yeah,
spotted, then the rest of it's
which
guns
is
blazing.
kind of
So
what I do in most cases. But like with Deus Ex, I enjoy it more because you're definitely you have more ammo, you have more things. Dishonored
yeah,
is definitely more designed towards, hey, yeah, you can play it chaotic, but you're probably gonna die more because you just don't have the ammo. But the cool thing about Dishonored 2 and Dishonored Death of the Outsider, excuse me, is they have black markets on every level and for or every mission, and you can break into the black market. So if you break into it, you can literally steal all this ammo, all this money, all these bone charms, everything. So you can actually OP yourself. So before I do every mission, this is why I'm taking longer than most people. Before I do a mission, I'm breaking into the black market and I'm
gotcha.
stealing everything, and of course, I'm killing the black market guy.
Nice. I mean, that's what I love about the games like that. Even like I think you and I shared this when we were kind of reviewing Mankind Divided. How I went in and did a mission for this guy and got an item, whereas you killed everyone in that room and got his gun and had a totally different experience even later in the game too. I love it when games
Hmm.
do a good job of, even though it is planned out, right? They must have a giant storyboard web of some kind of all the options that could how it
Yeah,
could
yeah.
play out, but it makes you the player feel like I made that decision.
I
The game didn't tell me to.
impacted
I did
this
that. Yeah,
world. I
yeah.
impacted this universe.
And I love when that's done in a good way. I don't want it to be, trashy or real glitchy. I like
Yeah.
when it's done in a way that clearly they want you to choose what to do.
Yeah,
So I like
like
that a
when
lot.
people were beating Prey in like 15 minutes, they were literally using a glitch, like something wrong with the game, to push their
Right.
player up into the final area. That I don't care about. What I care about, and I talked about it with Prey too, which is made by the same guys who do Dishonored. Prey does the same thing. They give you the option to take this one mission to abandon the game. I don't want to spoil it, but it's a way to finish the game without actually finishing the game, and it can be your ending. It can be your way of saying, I'm done with this stupid game and
Mm.
bye. Or you can keep playing through it and see the story through. Anyway, while I said technically that's not beating the game, it really kind of is. I think it's cool that they do stuff like that.
Yeah, like we talked about with Far Cry 4.
Yeah.
Where you can beat it right at the beginning without exploring the world whatsoever.
So I have to say, I didn't, and I did like Dishonored 2. I went back and looked. I think I put it at number 7 last year in my top 10. So I still appreciated the game. I still liked it. I think I would have liked it more if I would have played it how I'm playing Death of the Outsider, and that's not feeling rushed. And that's my own fault. I'm not blaming the game or anything else. It came out in the fall of 2016 and came out with a bunch of other games, and I kind of rushed through it. Death of the Outsider released, I would say, at a good time. I'm not saying I don't have plenty of other games. I do. I actually have too many. But it didn't come out when I have Shadow of War or which I know is going to consume a lot of my time. Destiny 2. It came out as like a side game for Destiny 2. So I haven't been rushing. I've just been kind of enjoying and going, hey, if I beat it, I beat it. If I don't, I don't. I'm just going to play it for fun. And it's actually
Nice.
made the game more fun instead of feeling like, I got to finish this so I can put it in my top 10 or not. And that's kind of
Yeah.
what I did there. So I
Yeah, and I
would
think
like to play Dishonored 2 again because I think I
Yeah.
would enjoy it more if I was like, just take your time.
Yeah, I think, and that's the advice that I think you and I would both give to anyone who's getting into games and trying to figure out how to balance that stuff out. You need to be able to have fun, otherwise you're totally defeating the purpose of gaming. But I'm totally guilty of that thing too, where it's I got to finish this game because this other game's going to release soon, and I want to make sure I can talk about all these different games. And some of that's to do with our podcast, some of that's to do with our community that we're involved with, and some of it's just kind of a personal way of looking at games. I just want to get through games so I can check that one off the list and move on to the next one. But yeah, when you're able to really slow down and just enjoy it, that's definitely the best way to do it.
So that's what I'm playing. I'm considering getting maybe Forza 7, but I don't know. I have still FIFA 18, which is great, and NHL 18. So I've got plenty of games until Shadow of War comes out.
Nice.
Which I'm really excited about. But that's pretty much it. And I'm playing the SNES Classic, but we'll talk about that. And yes, I said SNES.
SNES. It's wrong. You can say whatever you want. It's a free country.
I hate
God bless
SNES
God bless America.
takes too long. SNES takes too long. SNES.
Oh boy.
Get them out of here.
All right, so anyway, I am playing the brand new indie game on the Switch, Golf Story, and it's interesting when you mentioned your top 10. I've actually been looking at my top 10 and actually really top 20 of this year quite a bit recently, trying to figure out what game would I rank above what. And when it comes to the top 10, it's really dominated by these major AAA experiences. I mean, they're just so good. This year, I think, has delivered, and I believe will continue to deliver through the end of October and November, some fantastic AAA gaming experiences. But there have been a few smaller games, whether they're indie games technically or not, I call them indie games, that deserve some recognition. And for a little while there, it was something like Graceful Explosion Machine. Well, that one has slid down my list, right? It's still worth mentioning, but that's down the list. For a while there, it was this game called Sundered that I talked about. That was very Metroidvania, but mostly melee combat. That one also has slid down the list a little bit, even though I really enjoyed it. And then even SteamWorld Dig 2, which I highly recommend. Super charming, very fun. Not quite going to crack the top 10 this year, I don't think. There's too many other amazing, large, huge games that will keep me occupied for a long time that have so much value that it's hard for me to rank it above those, even objectively.
You just triggered like every indie, like every indie lover out there. You just triggered.
Well, that's the thing. This has been a unique year because in any other year, I think some of these would have easily cracked the top 10, maybe even the top 5 for me personally, because I don't know that there's this many years where you have the Zelda, Horizon, Destiny 2, the Uncharted Lost Legacy, even something like Hellblade, which is technically like a smaller indie release, but still feels like a AAA experience like we talked about. The Ghost Recon, Neo, Nier. You got these massive games that are just dominating the year. And I don't know that maybe these years have existed, but I don't know how many years have existed where there's this many high quality. Not only are they beautiful and play wonderfully, but they're really, really good at their very core.
I could say we've been doing this podcast for almost 2 years now, but we've done 2 Game of the Year shows, and we're going to be doing a third one. And in the first 2 years that we did the Game of the Year shows, it usually, for me, came down to 2 games. Like, I would be like, The Witcher or Rocket League, or Dark Souls 3 versus, I'm forgetting the other one that was up there.
Well, there was Uncharted 4.
Final Fantasy 15 or something
Final
like
Fantasy 15, Deus Ex, right?
Yeah, so there was usually 2 games that in my head, I was like, they're battling out. And either one could win. I could switch them now, and I wouldn't even care, Yeah. This year, and I'm being honest, is down for me right now to 4 games that I'm like, I have valid arguments for each one. Like, Destiny 2 is going to end up being the game I easily put more hours into than any other game. And not just because, I just want to play something. I'm loving every moment of Destiny 2. I have not had a down moment in Destiny 2, and I'm probably at 80 to 90 hours right now. Mass Effect Andromeda, I put about 75, 80 hours in that because I beat the campaign twice, and I played it for long times. I did not rush through the campaign. I just enjoyed the game. It was super fun. Zelda Breath of the Wild objectively is clearly, and I'm saying it right now, the best game to come out this year. But objective doesn't mean everything for me.
Yeah, but
when
will it be your top game is
exactly
still the question, right?
So it definitely deserves a number one shot. And then there's Horizon Zero Dawn, which I had some faults with it, but after replaying it again and enjoying it for the second time, I put it up there with Andromeda as just super fun to play that has a good story. Like I look
Right.
at
I
Andromeda
agree.
and Horizon as equals. And so for me, those two games are easily Game of the Year contenders. So I have
And we're not even done yet. We still have,
That's
like
what
you
I'm
mentioned,
saying.
Shadow of War,
I
Mario
have
Odyssey,
Shadow of
Wolfenstein
War.
2,
I have Mario
Assassin's
Odyssey. I have
Creed.
no Mario Odyssey. To me, is kind of like the wild card, where I'm
Yeah.
not the
Where's that gonna
biggest
land?
Mario fan. So
Yeah.
I look at it as like I'll play it for a second and be like, "Oh, this is cool," and move on. But the more and more I see of it, I'm like, this might be the game that gets me, kind of like Zelda Breath of the Wild, to become a Mario fanboy, where I'm like,
Right.
I love Nintendo. So there's just a ton of games that are still to come out, and I've already got 4. And I'm being honest with the listeners. This isn't to like, in 3 months, be pumped and come find out which one I picked for Game of the Year. But really, I already have one game picked. I really don't. I have 4 games that I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, my list is very fluid too, which I am excited about. That means it's been a good year of gaming. And I've got a couple of spots reserved for the new Assassin's Creed, for Super Mario Odyssey, Shadow of War. So it's going to be tough. And the only reason I bring all of that up, we're not here to talk about our Game of the Year lists yet, although it's exciting too. We're in October now, so it's getting to that time.
Yeah.
The only reason I bring that up is because this little game that came out on the Switch, developed by 2 guys from Australia, took them 1 year to develop this thing. It's called Golf Story. And before, I know I'll let Derek get in his jab about being indie and old school.
Trash.
Trash. There you go. This game is one of the most charming games I've ever played, especially with that 16-bit style. It is super charming. The writing is hilarious. You can tell that there's, especially if you put Australian accents behind it, because these guys are Australian. A lot of the terminology, and they use the word mate a lot, so you can tell it's kind of this Australian vibe. Very sarcastic, super funny. So the writing is great. There's these little mini stories that you go through. A lot of it is kind of poking fun at some video game tropes, some stories that don't usually make sense. What's really funny is that the game opens with you as a little kid, and your dad is training you, and so that's kind of the tutorial of the game. And then it moves, 20 years later, and then you're this older guy who's decided to go play golf. And even then, there's someone who you don't know who that is who calls you on the phone and says, "Are you kidding me? You're playing golf?" Like they're making fun of the idea that he's living his life to go play golf or whatever. So it's all very tongue in cheek. It's all very funny, and the way that they have you interact with all these characters is so funny. The coach that you're trying to get to coach you, he sucks. I don't have no idea why my character wants him to coach him, but that's the whole goal for a big chunk of the game is if I can do this, maybe he'll finally train me. And I'm like, he sucks. Why do you want him to train you? But again, it's all played for laughs.
Yeah.
And so they do a really good job of that in addition to all these side characters. Like, here's an example. So you'll do a challenge, and you'll do really well because you, the player, get to control how well you do. But they will all just totally crap on your game. They'll be like, "Wow, your swing is awful. Like, that is disgusting. You got so lucky. You really suck at golf." But then someone else will take a swing, and they'll hit the next person in the head, and they'll say, "Hey, your form is fantastic. There's a lot of good things to work with here." So everyone's in the game is making you feel like you totally suck, and everyone else is awesome. So that vibe already from the outset made it really, really funny. So here's what the game's all about. You're this unnamed character who, like I said, was trained as a kid to play golf and then returns to the game 20 years later to quote-unquote finish what he started. They're very melodramatic on purpose. It's meant to be funny.
Yeah,
And very tongue-in-cheek. And you walk into this golf course, and right away you're free to roam around and do what you want. It's kind of like a giant clubhouse yard type area. There's a couple of greens you can go just putt on. There's a couple of holes that you can shoot for from wherever you are in that area. What's really cool is if you hit the Y button at any point as you're wandering around, that button is just a tee up. At any point, your guy will just pull a golf ball out, drop it on the ground, and you can take a shot in whatever direction you want. You can hit other characters. You can just set up your own challenges if you want. And, hey, I'm going to try to set up from over here and see if I can make it in that hole behind that building over there. You can do that. And there's also some predetermined challenges. You'll walk up to characters, and they'll say, "Hey, I can't get these birds to leave me alone. Would you scare them off?" And so then you got to hit all the birds with golf balls. There's all these different challenges they'll set up, in addition to having full-fledged, at least so far, 9 whole courses. So far, I've done 3 of them. And, they'll keep track like normal golf scores with a couple unique things here and there. But the gameplay is very much like Mario Golf Advance. If you guys ever played that game, you hit the button. You do all your aiming beforehand, right? You can adjust which club you're using and what angle you want to go from. You look at the wind and the speed. And then you hit one button to start the meter. You hit another button to stop it at how powerful you want. And then one more button for accuracy. Very straightforward. You guys have all played these kind of golf games before. But it's done really well. And the fact that 2 guys developed this, it's got, in my opinion, a nearly perfect arcade style of golf with some really fun and funny characters. I've probably put 10 hours into it, and I think I've still got 3 more courses to get through. It's super, super fun. Like, it's one of those games I can't stop playing. And whether and it is 16-bit pixel art, when you see the screenshots of it, you think, oh, great, they're just trying to make this look old. It actually looks really pretty when you see it in motion. Like, the animations are really cool looking. So it could, I don't think it could run on a Super Nintendo. The animations are too in-depth, and the frame rate's too high. But it does have that look in still screens. So I highly recommend this game. $15 on the eShop. I don't know if it's coming to other platforms. It was originally being built for the Wii U, and then when the Switch was announced, they switched over to the Switch. So I highly recommend this game. It's an absolute blast. Oh, there are RPG mechanics, of course. You level up. Everything you complete gives you money to buy clubs or other items, or experience to level up. You can level up your power, your spin, your control, all that kind of stuff. So there's some RPG elements to it as well. Not super in-depth, but they're there. So Golf Story is amazing. And yes, it has cracked my top 10. It is above right now games like Hellblade and Nier. Strangely enough, like I'm having that much.
I wish I could game share on the Nintendo Switch with you.
Don't you really? This game is fantastic.
You buy so many great games. And speaking of
Derek,
that,
if you gave this game a shot, you'd actually like it.
If I could only game share on the Switch, then I would get a free copy of Red Dead Redemption 2 is what I would get. A free copy. That would be great.
With that exclusive that Nintendo's getting with Red Dead.
Speaking of Red Dead.
Well, I'll step down off my soapbox here. Those of you who are listening, I know Derek's not convinced. He's over there playing Destiny 2 in the background or something. But for those of you who are listening, if you have any interest at all, just get it. It's $15. It is so good.
I'll be honest. I have interest. It's not that. It's I'm having to be a little more choosy on stuff because
I gotcha.
I am trying to buy less, but also it's just the amount of stuff I buy. That's why Forza 7 in the past would have been a lock. Oh, I'm just gonna buy it. It's an Xbox exclusive. I like racing games. I'm just gonna buy it. I'm literally, and I can get the game for like $27 out of my pocket. I have $33. I have a $23 gift card, and I have a $10 certificate at Best Buy. So I could get a digital copy so I could play it on PC or Xbox for $27, and I'm still going, should I use it for Mario Odyssey? Should I use it? I'm trying to figure out because I don't want to waste money, and that's kind of, long story short, that's the reason why I wouldn't buy a Golf Story. I mock you and make fun of you, but I actually went on the eShop and was looking at it. I'm like, betcha I'd like this. It's not a game when I look at it that I'd like it, but just I like golf games. I don't play them a lot, but I like them. I like playing them casually every once in a while. And then I'm like, it's got an RPG around it. That sounds interesting to me. But I have to get more choosy with what I buy, and it might be something that I buy when it's like $5, just to have it on my Switch or something.
I would bet this will be one of those things that will go on some kind of eShop sale. I hope Nintendo gets into more eShop sales.
It's 15 right now, right? I think it's
15. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's already not even priced bad. So I think it will be one of those that in probably a few months it'll probably be 50% off, $7.50. Yep. I would buy it then. So.
Highly worth it. Totally recommend it. Yeah. Yep. All right. So that's what we're playing right now. And what we're going to be playing next spring, though, like Derek just referenced. Nice segue, by the way.
Thanks.
A Tigwe. What we'll be playing next spring is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Switch
probably
exclusive.
on the Switch, right?
Yeah,
probably on the Switch.
Exclusive.
I'm sure the Switch can run this game. Sorry, everybody. No, it can't. This game looks amazing. If you haven't watched the new trailer yet, pause this right now and go watch it. Did you do it? Did you go watch it? Okay, good.
They did.
we did the same thing just now. We went and watched it, rewatched it, I guess, just to get a refresher on what this is looking like, what Rockstar's latest project is starting to look like for next spring. And I'll just start it off by saying this game looks absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah, you liked the first Red Dead more than me.
Definitely.
Like way more than me.
Yeah, it was one of my favorites of last generation.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I had no real hype for Red Dead Redemption 2, and what I mean by that is like when they started talking about it, because I don't think I think the only thing we'd seen before this trailer was like a picture. Oh, we did get one trailer where
there was a
like,
short trailer.
Yeah, it
right?
was just like little quick shots of landscape, but you didn't see like gameplay or any characters, nothing like that.
It showed like some horses running, so like some riders on horses up close, but that was about it.
But nothing that you could go, okay, this is part of the story or anything like that.
This had a lot more story elements to it.
Yeah, so there was no hype for me. I'm not saying I'm not excited for the game at all, but there was no hype. When I watched this trailer, there was a little bit of hype that grew because I was like, wow, not only is this absolutely gorgeous, 4K live.
Oh my goodness. It's going to look okay, can I just say this before you continue? If you have the opportunity to play this on 4K, the Xbox One X or whatever, do it because this game's probably going to look amazing in 4K.
Yeah, so, it really is. So, but after watching the trailer, I'm really interested in this game. Like, I liked Red Dead Redemption. I remember loving it when I played it when it released. I bought it on day one, but I didn't beat it. And then last year I went back and beat it. And when I went back and played it, and you know how it is going back to older games, I would say it holds up enough that you could play it and enjoy it. I don't think it holds up enough that you could go, this is a great game. Like, I think part of what would make somebody say if they went and played it now that it's still a great game would be nostalgia. If somebody's never played it at all and went back and played Red Dead Redemption, they'd probably be like, it's good, but there's a lot of rough edges.
What year did that come out? Was it like 2011 or something?
Probably, I think it was 2010. I think it came out before Skyrim. 2009, 2010. It was a while ago. Skyrim was 2011. So
it was definitely a few years before Grand Theft Auto 5, which was 2013.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a while back.
2009, 2010. And it still holds up.
Just think about the progression the games have made even since GTA 5. And GTA 5 was a 2 or 3 year newer game than Red Dead. Mm-hmm. So I don't disagree with you, the premise that, hey, this probably doesn't hold up amazingly based on what we expect from these kind of games today.
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
But it still plays good. But I would say after looking at this, even story-wise, which I don't play a lot of Rockstar games for story, I do think Red Dead Redemption has the best story. I thought the ending of Red Dead Redemption, I will say this, I'm glad I went and beat it because I'm like, okay, I finally got to see, and it was already spoiled for me, but I got to see what everybody talked about. And got to
a great Western story, whether it was movie, TV show, or game. Like they knocked the Western story.
It was a hell of an ending, and I would say I would even say it was a risque ending, and I won't spoil it, but it's risky because it was like something that could destroy that brand by doing what they did. So,
well, not risque like he wasn't wearing any clothes, like risky.
Risque, risque, like Sasan risque.
That kind of risque.
Yeah.
Got it.
But yeah, so I think this game could be absolutely amazing. Like it's on my radar. I fully expect it to be one of the best that we'll get from 2018. As somebody who's not a huge Rockstar fan, I just don't like their stuff overall. I think this is probably the most excited I've been for a Rockstar game. So they nailed it. The trailer's really well done. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Not only is it visually well done, but it kind of sets you up for what is to come in this game. It shows you some of the activities you're going to do. It shows you the character that you're going to play as, which I guess he's a villain. So you get to play as the villain, kind of. And it
seems like,
and it looks to be that it's a prequel to the original. So
yeah, and the clue for that, I mean, there might have been other clues, but the one I picked up on is at the end when he addresses one of the other characters by Dutch, which is a name from the first one that some of you would recognize. So yeah, I think it's pretty clearly a prequel, and that's fine with me. Anything in that setting, that old Western setting where you're a cowboy doing train robberies and all that kind of stuff, I'm down with that. So whatever setting is fine. The
Well, I
prequels
think
versus
this
sequel, it's
prequel
fine.
will work better than most prequels because I'm not a fan of prequels when you know the character, but you're not controlling John Marston in this. You're controlling somebody else.
Yeah.
And so I think this prequel will work because it'll be somebody else's story that you don't know about.
And I think we will see things that lead up to the
To
beginning of
John,
John
yeah,
Marston's story in Red Dead 1, you know. At the beginning
exactly.
of Red Dead 1, you're being essentially escorted by these two U.S. Marshals or whatever. That's the opening scene of Red Dead 1. And I wonder if it'll kind of take us up to that moment, you know, where he's
Tie
being,
in together why he
yeah,
did what
why
he
he does what
did.
he does.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
got it.
Yep.
So,
So what the things that we saw in that trailer that caught my attention, yeah, there were some amazing landscapes with just beautiful draw distance. And my assumption from what we were seeing is that, you know, you see some stream and some forest off in the distance from the hill or mountain that you're on. Chances are pretty good you could hop on a horse and ride out there and
yeah.
go experience that area as well. I have a feeling that what you see, similar to Skyrim and other really other Rockstar games as well, not just Skyrim. But you know the GTA's and things like that. I believe you are able to get out to whatever areas you see, which is great. And I know Rockstar doesn't always do that. There's plenty of times in their games where, like LA Noire, for example, you're kind of limited. Even though it's open, you're kind of limited. I wonder if Rockstar took some cues from Bethesda, you know, from their games and opened it up a bit. Who knows? But they were what really intrigued me, just like what you said, was the characters. There was a heavy focus on their faces, on their expressions,
Hmm.
on some singular lines they were delivering that really make it seem like the story is going to be personal and intriguing and intense. A few of the gameplay elements that I started to pull out of it was I think there's going to be hunting involved in this as well. It showed you out in the wilderness. There was wildlife that you were hunting. You know, you were going hunting for elk, and there was a giant bear chasing you. And then there was a time when it was dark, and you're wearing or someone's wearing a bandana on their face, going to rob a train. And so I think there's going to be some kind of train robbery ability in this as well. I think there's going to be some cool stuff to let you do in this game, and I also think it's going to have a great through story, just from what I'm seeing so far in the
Yeah.
trailer. But like Derek said, go watch it and get excited.
Yep, definitely excited. I hope it comes to PC, but if it doesn't, yeah, I'll definitely get it for either the Pro or the X, where you're gonna at least experience maybe, I doubt native 4K, but maybe checkerboard 4K, which on a game like that, like it'll still be gorgeous. Like I look at Destiny 2, I'm not playing that on PC right now. I'm playing on the PS4 Pro. It's not 4K. It hasn't even, I don't even think they've patched in HDR. They haven't done anything with this game. Yet it might be the best looking game I've played on console. So imagine if they patch that stuff in. Same thing with Red Dead. It looks like a game that if they like really put in some time to patch in, or not patch in, but just have HDR, have checkerboard 4K, it could be probably the best looking console game ever.
Yeah, it's been interesting you mentioned that. I do think the discussion about best visuals this year is going to be a very interesting one because we still haven't seen what is probably going to be some of the best visuals in everything from Mario Odyssey, Assassin's Creed, and don't forget about Battlefront 2, which the trailers for that, the gameplay trailers, oh my word. So we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out for
Yeah.
this year, let alone next year when Rockstar drops this beauty.
So are you
looking
gonna, are you
forward-
gonna get Battlefront 2?
I'm not going to buy it day one. I mean,
Ooh.
obviously, if you end up getting it, I will play it. But I could see myself getting it maybe on a Black Friday sale or a winter sale. But I won't buy it full price like I did the first one. So,
There's more content.
yeah. I am a Star Wars fan. Who knows? Maybe Episode 8 will get me so hyped that I'll
Maybe
end up buying
we'll
it over
split it
Christmas.
because I already have it on the One X, like pre-ordered. But if
Yeah,
other
we'll split it
people,
with
because
PS4.
our group is predominantly PlayStation, so if other people want to play
Ponies. Bunch of ponies.
multiplayer, yeah, there's ponies everywhere. Then maybe you and I can split it and just you can own it or whatever, 40, 20 or whatever. It doesn't matter.
All right, well, let's talk. We talked about new games and upcoming games. Well, let's slow down for a second as we close out this episode and talk just a little bit about old games. The SNES Classic, not the SNES, the SNES
SNES.
Classic specifically. Please write in and comment, guys. What is it?
Okay,
Is it
first of
SNES?
all, let me
Is it
start off
SNES?
by saying I use words. My words are the best words, and SNES is one of my words. So I use
I know
words.
words.
I know words. I use words. My words are better than your words, SNES.
Fair enough. Thanks.
Apparently,
Fair enough.
this is like white power. This symbolizes white power, so I do this a lot now.
The
Especially
OK
when I'm
symbol.
talking. Well, yeah, when I talk to like minorities, I'm like, I want to make sure you understand when I wave this at you, you are under my. I am white power. You are
And
under
if you're
me.
just chatting with them online or on the phone, you make sure you send a screenshot of your hand doing that, just so
Yeah,
they
well,
know.
yeah, because when I'm
Yeah,
playing like
yeah,
Destiny 2 and I'm like yelling at Manuel because he's
yeah.
Mexican, I
You're like, hey,
usually.
check your Facebook messages. I sent you a picture. All right, so let's talk about the SNES Classic, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Mini. And by the way, I did not realize how many this thing is. So let's
Yeah,
talk about it.
neither did I. Wow.
Yeah, so this past Friday, this thing dropped in stores. I did have a pre-order at Best Buy, so I was able to saunter in like midday and get one.
Cool.
But Derek, you were able to go get one early enough in the morning. It sounds like.
Yeah, I do want to kind of share this story. I'll make
Yeah,
it quick,
tell us how you got one before we
but
talk
this
about
is
the system itself.
yeah, this is crazy. So I said on the show, Mike McClendon was super nice enough. He was able to get 2 pre-orders. He got one at Amazon for him, and then he was able to snatch one at Walmart. Well, he sends me a message like 2 days before the SNES Classic is launching, and he's like, "Sorry, buddy," and it says he screen prints it, screenshots it. It's Walmart saying that they back ordered his pre-order. All right, so I don't know if people don't understand or Walmart doesn't understand how business works. Why the heck are you going to back order a pre-order, but you have these in your store?
Yeah, that's
You could
confusing.
walk into their store at the day that it launched, and they had stuff being shipped to their store. So absolutely ridiculous. Walmart is the worst. I want to boycott Walmart. Like they're just stupid. But anyway, so that was dumb. So I knew I wasn't going to try to get one. I was like, all right, if I can't get it from him, or I'll just wait, because I didn't tell him to cancel the order. I was like, all right, I'll just wait for the back order to be fulfilled, and then I'll pay him then. So I was actually driving into work on Friday, and I just dropped off my kids. They go to my parents' house in the morning, because that's where their bus picks them up. And so I just dropped them off, and I'm driving by, and there's a Target to my left. And I never do this. I promise you, I never do this. I was like, I should just. I think Target opens up at 7, and this is like 7:45. And I know there's been reports that stores are getting like 150, 200 of these. Maybe they'll have one. I should just go check. So I pull in. I'm like, okay, I'll go look. So I pull in, and as I'm driving in and going through the parking lot, I see a line of about 30 people. And I'm like, oh, Target's not open. So I'm like, now my brain starts kicking in going, you don't want to wait. The SNES Classic's not worth it. You don't want to wait. I'm like, well, I should just go see. Let's just see if I can get it. Let's just try. Let's do something you normally wouldn't do, Derek. You're probably going to be late to work, but who cares? So I pull in, I park, and I go and get in line. And actually ended up talking to some of the people. They were really nice. Well, one guy that's like 2 people behind me, he's like, I guess, hardcore. He'd already gone to Walmart at midnight, and Walmart didn't get theirs at midnight. They were getting theirs later. And then he's like, yeah, there's 46 of them here. So as long as they only sell 1 per person, we're good. I said, all right,
Huh.
all right, all right.
How did he know that?
Nerd. He was seriously nerd. And so I probably could have sitting there, busted out, and talked to him about every AAA game. He probably would have been like, yeah, I've got
He has super strong opinions about stuff.
yeah, he probably would have been like, I've got 6 characters at maxed at 305 light level on Destiny 2. He looked like that type of guy. So, but I liked him at that point because I'm like, you're giving me you're making me feel like the time I'm standing here is not wasted. Because keep in mind, I'm supposed to be at work at 8:30. I'm actually 30 to 40 minutes away from work, and Target's not going to open until 8 o'clock. And they weren't handing out tickets, so I had no idea if I was actually going to get one, and I didn't know what system they had set up to how fast they could ring all of us up. Because again, I have 30 people in front of me. If they don't have a system set up that's extremely efficient, I could be standing there for a while. So I was definitely taking a chance. But I'm glad I stuck it through. I ended up going through. They literally would not sell it to you. Like, there was parents trying to pull off the whole, I gave my kid $85 so they can buy one, and then I'm going to buy one. And they were like, nope, 1 per adult. But they did do something cool, and that is whoever was there could buy one, but after you bought one, you could get in line again. So there were people getting 2 because they were going back in line to get another one. So I thought that was pretty cool that they did that. Sure enough, if you guys use Facebook, you know Facebook Marketplace. It shows all your local people what they're selling. There's about 50 Super NESs on there, so people are scamming.
What were they going for? Just out of curiosity.
I saw the lowest was 130, which I thought that was actually quite good.
Yeah, that's not too bad for someone who doesn't want to get out and about and go
Exactly.
get one early.
But most people are doing it for
Like
200.
300.
200.
200, okay. Yeah.
Which, keep in mind, this is Facebook Marketplace. That means it's all local, so you don't pay shipping. You don't have to pay an Amazon fee or eBay fee. That 200 is all going to you, so they are still making a decent profit. And I actually thought about that. I'm like, what if I did that? But I looked at, once I picked up the box, and I just looked at the games that were on it, I was like, I really want to own this. I really want to own this. So I brought it home, and I'm not going to jump in too quick. I'm going to let you give some feedback too. But I came home and I showed Ian, and I was like, look what I picked up today. And they were like, dude, this is cool. I'm like, all right, let's set this junk up and let's get going. So that's what we did. I picked it up on Friday. I'm really excited that I was able to walk in and get it. And then I played some games on Friday night, and we'll talk about that in a second. I'll let you share first, but
yeah. So I was able to go to Best Buy, and they were still handing out essentially, I guess they were like rain checks for people who walked in. Like everyone who walked in, there was a girl standing there with a folder full of papers, and she was saying SNES Classic to everyone who walked in. SNES Classic. So like they assumed most people coming to their store that day. That's why they were going to be there. So anyway, I said no, I've got one pre-ordered. So she waved me over to the pickup desk, and they quickly rung me up, and I got out of there. But there were definitely all sorts of like lines and barriers they had set up. I think they had a midnight launch at this Best Buy, and there were a lot of people there apparently. So it was pretty exciting that I got one. I was excited that I was lucky enough to get a pre-order in before they shut down. So I do have one. I brought it home. I was surprised by how little the box was. The box is. I'm trying to think of what to compare it to. I mean, it's about the size of maybe a small DVD player.
Yeah,
these days.
It's very small.
Yeah, so the box itself was small. It was about as big as what I expected the SNES Classic to look like, because that's how big my SNES was back in the day.
The box that it comes in is about the size of an SNES.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, okay, this is interesting. I didn't open it yet, but I was looking at the back of it, and so I was really excited to get home. I showed the kids. Now, keep in mind, my kids have never played a Super Nintendo, the original, or used the old controllers. We don't own one. They have played a few Super Nintendo games without realizing it, whether through their Game Boy Advance or DS, like re-releases, or maybe through the Wii U. The Wii Virtual Console, right? So they've played a few Super Nintendo games without realizing it. But for the most part, this is all brand new to them. So I showed them the pictures of the games. I said, here's what it is. We opened it up together. We pulled out the tiny little plastic box, the SNES Mini, which is about the size of an old school Game Boy. It's not
like
very
this.
big.
Like
Yeah.
I'm holding up a DVD drive for my PC, and it's about the size of that.
It's about that big. It's a little bit taller, but yeah, it's about that size. It's very lightweight. There's not much to it, you can tell, because of course these 20-something games it's not that big of file sizes to store, so they don't need a lot of space in there. But anyway, so we opened it up, looked at it. It looks very much like the old school Super Nintendo. It's very cool, even with the little purple power and reset button that's right there. A little fake slot to put the cartridge in. Obviously, there's not really a slot to put cartridges in. A lot of people have asked that question. Can you put SNES cartridges in there? No. You can only play what's built into it, for now at least. So anyway, it comes with 2 wired controllers. They're about 4 or 5 feet long, something like that, 4.5 feet long cables. I kind of wish they would have figured out a way to make it wireless. I think they could have done that, but maybe that would have made it more expensive. I don't know.
I think they kept it the way they did for nostalgia purposes. I think they wanted to keep
possibly
it small and cute, but they wanted to keep it as close to what we experienced as a child. And that's the major reason I bought this. Most of these games that are on it, and we'll talk about them, I love them, but I have access to them in maybe even more convenient ways. I have a lot of them on my Wii U, which is still, in the background hooked up. I have I have access to play these, but the main reason I wanted to buy this is I wanted to own, like, for instance, I buy, for some of my favorite games, I buy collector's editions. Why? Well, I want the statue. That's the only reason why I buy them. The statue doesn't do anything. I can't play with the statue. So this SNES Classic, I mainly bought it to own the actual, like, cute little system, the official Nintendo.
Because it looks so cool.
It is. It's super cool looking. It's cute, and I'm gonna play it. I'll play it for fun. I think one of the games I would actually there's two games I would actually like to play and beat on the system. I doubt I will, but I would like to. And that's Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I'd like to get past the main menu. And I'd like to play Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars.
Yeah.
Both games, now, while Zelda, and we've talked about this 1,000 times, I've played a ton of that. Probably was at the end and didn't know it. But I know Legend of the Seven Stars, I only played like a few minutes of it because I never owned the game. It was my friend's game, and I just remember watching him play it and playing a little bit. But this was back when I wasn't really into RPGs. So there's stuff on there that I legit want to play and experience either for the first time for myself or to actually beat it.
Well, and let's talk about the games that are on there. I'll go through the list in a second. When you first turned the system on, though, what did you think about like the UI, the way you can go through and select your games? How do you feel overall about how it looked?
Loved it.
Me too.
So far, everything I've experienced with this has been really cool. While I agree with you, I wish they had wireless controllers. It being a plug-in and at least, thank you, being 5 feet is okay. I can handle that.
And the controllers feel like the old school Super Nintendo controllers.
Exactly.
They're well made, but they're lightweight. But the buttons, the presses still feel the same. It's a very satisfying little controller.
And the UI is really smooth. I like how easy it is to go from game to game. It even tells you which games are 1-player or 2-player. So, for instance, the first game I booted up was Secret of Mana because I was playing with Ian, and I was like, well, let's find a 2-player game. Now, Secret of Mana is a 2-player game, but it actually starts out as a solo game.
Yeah, you have to get other characters.
You have to, you have to unlock the party to start getting a co-op partner.
Right. So
but I have a lot of nostalgia for that game because I remember playing it with my cousin. I've shared this before. My cousin was a hardcore RPG player back on the SNES and the original PlayStation. He's the one that was into the Final Fantasies and the Secret of Mana. I wasn't. But when I came over to his house, that was the game he got me to play, or got me into RPGs, because it looked like Zelda, but two of us could play it. And I was like, this is super cool. So I wanted Ian to experience that. And so that's the game we started with. I haven't gotten to play much else, but as far as UI and playing around with some of the options and stuff, I think it's really, really well done.
Well, and they do have some just general options, like you can set up a border, because it's obviously they're not widescreen HD games, so you're going to have the 2 black bars on the side of most modern TVs. So they give you options on different borders, like if you want to put a color on the side, if you want to put a certain design on the side. You can even have options like, do you want an old CRT filter so it really looks like old school TV? Do you want it to be pixel perfect, but you might see some blemishes there or somewhere in between? They give you some options on how it looks and what the experience will be like. There's even some save state options. I haven't dug into that yet, but you can have some save states for each game, which is very nice because a lot of these old school games are not very forgiving when it comes to save points. So it's great to have some save states that you can use. But let me go through the list of games that are on this thing real quick.
Yeah.
And then I want to ask, you already told us the first one you played. That was going to be my next question. But I'll share that for me in a second. By the way, last fall, when we were talking about the NES Mini Classic system, we kind of put together our lists of our dream Super Nintendo Classic. And I think we picked out 30 games, right?
I think so.
I looked at that list again, and I'm pretty sure we got 13 of them.
Well, that's good.
And so then Nintendo picked 8 that we didn't pick, because we had no idea they had to include Star Fox 2, by the way. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But also, we had 17 other ones that we think they should have included. Games like Doom or ActRaiser and Chrono Trigger, things like that. So there were others that would have been great to include on this, but let me go through this list. This is a really good list that Nintendo put together.
They nailed it.
For this little thing. So you have Contra 3: The Alien Wars, another fun shoot 'em up 2-player game. Donkey Kong Country, Earthbound, Final Fantasy 3, now known as Final Fantasy 6 in the official run of things. F-Zero, Kirby's Dream Course, Kirby Superstar, Mega Man X, Secret of Mana, Star Fox, Star Fox 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting, Super Castlevania 4, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Super Punch-Out, Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, and Yoshi's Island, also known as Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, which, by the way, really pretty game still, if you fire that one up. It actually is surprisingly good looking for being so old, and pretty fun. Okay, so the first game that we fired up, we turned the system on, we were looking through the UI a little bit, and the first game that my kids wanted to play, is the first one that they recognized, was Mario Kart. And I told him, I said, guys, this won't look or play like what you're used to, right? Mario Kart 7 on your 3DS, Mario Kart 8 on the Switch. They look much better, they play much different, but I want you guys to see what started Mario Kart. This is where it all began. So let's try this out. And they fired it up. They played a couple 2-player rounds. All the boys got a turn at it. And I'll tell you, they really had fun, and they were getting into it. Now, they all were laughing about how flat everything is. The coins are flat on the ground. The question marks are flat on the ground. Everything's just flat. But they still really liked it. The gameplay is essentially the same thing. It still, in a lot of ways, still feels the same, although it's improved, obviously, over the years. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's the first one we fired up. And then one of my sons is super interested in Secret of Mana. I told him all about it, and he couldn't wait to play it. So we fired that one up together, and they all passed the controller around, learning how to battle a little bit. I forgot how just straightforward but fun the battle system in that game is, and it gets more complicated as you go. So I think that's one they'll come back to. And then I fired up Star Fox, because I knew that to unlock Star Fox 2, you have to beat the first level in Star Fox 1. That's the only way to unlock it. So I went through and
guys, you heard it here on Fotka first.
Pro tip: go beat the first level in Star Fox 1 to open up Star Fox 2. And I'll tell you, so this is just Star Fox 1. I haven't even had a chance to play Star Fox 2 yet. When I do, I'll let you guys know what I think. I've heard not great things, although it is kind of neat to have this little piece of video game history.
And people are comparing it to like modern games. Like I read one report,
and that's silly.
Or one review, and I'm like, really, guys?
And that's silly. I'm going to play it out of curiosity and just kind of like, it's like a little bit of history. I'm not planning on this being my major fall game, okay? But anyway, so the original Star Fox, I'll be honest with you, does not hold up. The controls don't feel quite right. The visuals are actually super, super rough. And we're playing on a relatively smaller screen. You know, I'm not trying to like 4K it up or anything. It's one of our smaller TVs in the house. And it was really rough. And I remember replaying Star Fox 64 and thinking, hey, this kind of holds up. It looks real clunky, but man, it kind of holds up to play. This one doesn't hold up as much. It's not bad. Well, you know, once I got the hang of it again, but it's just not. It's not.
I mean, it
great
runs
either.
at like 10 to 15 frames per second.
Yeah,
we're all
and you
used
can tell.
to. We're all used to 30 to 60. 30
Right.
being minimum. Like
Exactly.
I was telling you how when I was playing Rise of the Tomb Raider, when a lot of stuff would happen, and I had it on like ultra settings, it was dropping to like 24 frames per second, and I was like, oh, disgusting. So you can imagine like what I would experience with like Star Fox. So. And that's what I was saying. Like they did that with Star Fox 2 reviews. They were like, "This game doesn't run very well." I'm like, guys, you're playing a flying game with shooting and a bunch of stuff going on on a 16-bit system. I mean, it was cool back then. It's not going to work real well.
So it was fun to try, and I had to beat the first level anyway. I actually had trouble at first because I was like, "Whoa, this controls really weirdly," but I got through it. Beat that, and there was one other one we fired up real briefly. Oh yeah, my son wanted to try Link to the Past, of course. So he's seen me play that on my new 3DS, but now he wants to start a game on that, so we fired that up. So we've tried a few of them. My daughter and one of my sons played a bunch of Kirby Superstar. It's a 2-player game you can play, so it's a real kid-friendly game on here. But I'll tell you, this list of games is really impressive. I think they totally nailed it. The only thing I would do differently is add more games to it, because you could clearly fit more games into this little thing. These games don't take up that much memory.
I think it'd be cool if they patched more in or allow us to buy DLC, but they won't.
Buy a little USB because it's got a little USB plug, right? To buy something you could plug in there, but that probably won't happen.
They won't.
But this is still really good. So yes, there's always that wish, oh, there's this game or there's that game. They could have added this and that. Sure. But for what it is, really good. I think if you were a Super Nintendo kid, or maybe you've always wanted to be, maybe you grew up with a Sega, but you love the Super Nintendo, this is, in my opinion, totally worth the $80 that you'll have to spend to get it.
Here's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But
Keep going. Yeah.
The way I look at it is you've got 21 games that are all worth, whether you like them or not, they're all worth at least minimum $5.
Yeah.
If you're not good at math, that's
Yeah.
$105. I think the system and the two controllers are worth $30 by themselves. So you're looking at, in my opinion, this is just me, $135 worth of stuff, minimum, 135 that I just got for with tax, $85.
Yep.
I do
That's a great way to
not-
look at it. Yeah.
I
If
do
you were to
not
go
feel
do some
bad.
hunting and you could get all of this, the real cartridges and a real Super Nintendo with real controllers for
Oh, you're
$135.
gonna spend $200.
Yeah, I'd
easily.
call you a wizard. That'd be crazy if you could get
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
I think this is a great buy. Whether I use it or not, it's not important to me because, like I said, I look at this purchase as like buying a statue. I went and because I fell in love with Zelda Breath of the Wild, I bought the Zelda Breath of the Wild statue. It didn't come with a game; it was just a statue. I paid $70 for that thing. I have no regrets because every time I'm over here recording or playing games, I look up and I look at that statue and I think, I love that game. Like that's what the SNES Classic is to me. I own it. If I play it a lot, cool. If I don't, whatever. It was a cool night to hang out with Ian and play it. The other game we booted up was we played Secret of Mana for a little bit. I think he got bored because I thought I was going to be able to get two-player faster, and I didn't. But we booted up Donkey Kong Country, and he really likes that game. So, that game holds up. I mean, it's still got the 16-bit look, but it's a beautiful game for that era. I remember.
Makes you impressed with the artwork they did back then.
Yes, I remember those games probably, and I've been shallow since I was a kid. Those were my favorite games, and it was mainly because I just liked looking at them. They were the best looking games on the Super NES. So I really, really like this package. I think it's well worth the $80. If you're sitting here listening to this and going, but all my stores are sold out, should I buy pay $200 from a Facebook Marketplace guy because you're telling me it's worth it? No, but that's mainly because I'm anti doing that when Nintendo has said that they're going to make sure they have enough. So I think you should be patient and just get the $80.
PSA, GameStop just put out an official announcement saying they're going to have another huge shipment very soon. And I don't think they're the only ones. Retailers are going to keep getting waves of these. Do I think it'll be at the point where there's just shelves full of them and you can – not necessarily, but I do think if you pay attention to your local stores, you'll be able to grab one. If you
I think it's going to be like the Switch where
just call them, find out what day will your shipment come in, and just make it a point of getting there as early as possible, and I think you'll be able to get one. And I highly recommend that you do.
So don't give in to the scalpers. It's another reason why I didn't want to scalp it. I was like, I really want it, but I was like, I'm glad Reggie from Nintendo came out and said, don't buy it from a scalper. We'll make sure you get one. So I think they're handling this way better than the NES Classic.
Well, they're communicating about it, number one, which is big.
They're acknowledging this stuff happens, which I don't think Nintendo really did that before.
Yeah, they're being really transparent, which is really refreshing.
And now they're even re-releasing the NES Classic, which I wasn't as hyped for it as I am for the
but now I kind of want it.
But now that I know it's coming out, and it's $60, not $80, I think I'm going to jump on that. I think it'll be cool to own both of them. Like I said, even if I wasn't to play it a lot, I'll just put them up there.
Yeah, now I kind of want that one now that I've experienced this. Like, this is a cool little collector's item to have. In terms of will I use it regularly, you've already kind of answered that. Maybe, but probably not a ton, and that's totally fine. I think we will in spurts. I think, especially when I've got family in to visit, we'll go walk down nostalgia lane and play it a bit. Or if it's one of those nights when everyone's kind of doing different things, I'll set it up. Right now, it's set up in my daughter's room. She's got a little tiny TV in there, and they've been playing it a bit. So, yeah, I do think our family will use it somewhat regularly. I don't know that I will sit down late at night and game through all this old stuff again. I think I'll try it out a bit. I'll help my kids a bit on it, play some two-player with them. But really, I see this as two things. One, it's a fun collector's item for me. I'm glad I own all these games again. And it's a fun way for me to walk my kids through some of the stuff that I loved as a kid in gaming. So that's why I'm considering getting the NES one when that comes out next summer as well.
I think I will, as long as I have the finances for it. I will. I right now have it hooked up in my son's room. They have their Xbox One, and then they now have this. So I think it will be a cool thing to just be like, hey, Ian, you want to go play Donkey Kong, or you want to continue Secret of Mana? I think he'll want to do it once I unlock the second character.
Yeah.
So I do think I do have plans to unlock the second character for Secret of Mana, and then I am gonna also play those 2 games. I want to set down some time to try to work through A Link to the Past because it's important to me personally to beat a game that I know, and I've been mocked for this a lot, but I know I put hundreds of hours. I know I love that game, and I would like to be able to, like, yeah, I finished it. You know, I don't need to finish it every year like Dan Phillips or anything like that, but I'd like to finish it once.
Well, the cool thing is they picked out a selection of games here that hold up great. They're still fun gaming experiences now. A few of them, I'll throw out a few, the Star Fox and Star Fox 2, Mario Kart, F-Zero. These still technically play pretty well. I just don't think they're anywhere near, of course, where games have gone in that same genre since then. Some of the others, though, some of your platformers, your action-adventure, those are still really fun, and I think they hold up great.
The platformers and the RPGs are probably going to be the best games on this system.
Absolutely. So go get it, go enjoy it, and want to hear what you guys think too. So feel free to let us know how you're enjoying this thing and if you got one. So
hats off to Nintendo on creating this. And again, I know it's sold out for a lot of people, but the fact that I didn't plan to get in, I could walk in and they had enough at a store, and there were several stores around me that were getting just as many, if not more. They are definitely trying to get these out there, and they really should try. That's more money for them. But hats off for them for being more transparent, for being aware of that people are buying multiple copies to sell them for double to triple the price, and they're saying, don't do it. Don't buy those. Be patient. We will get them in your hands.
Yep. So first go buy Golf Story, then go buy the SNES Classic. Sweet.
Dishonored Death of the Outsider.
All right, well, I will get that too. All right, hey, listen, thank you guys for listening to episode 91. We are done for this week. We meant for it to be a short week, but as usual, both of us are blowhards and long-winded, so
Blowhard sounds absolutely terrible. It sounds rainbow.
Blowhards.
That is not a word I would use.
Blowhards.
I use words and I know them, and blowhards is not a word I would use.
We'll see you guys next week.
Rainbow.
Who is your daddy? I am the father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?